Okay, here's episode 2 of Wikipedia articles. Um, Social anxiety disorder. Social anxiety disorder, SAD, also known as social phobia, is an anxiety disorder characterized by a significant amount of fear in one or more social situations, causing considerable distress and impaired ability to function in at least some parts of daily life. These fears can be triggered by perceived or actual scrutiny from others. Physical symptoms often include excessive blushing, excess sweating, trembling, palpitations, and nausea. Stammering may be present along with rapid speech. Panic attacks can also occur under intense fear and discomfort. Some sufferers may use alcohol or other drugs to reduce fears and inhibitions at social events. It is common for sufferers of social phobia to self-medicate in this fashion, especially if they are undiagnosed, untreated, or both. This can lead to alcoholism, eating disorders, or other kind of substance abuse. SAD is sometimes referred to as an illness of lost opportunities, where individuals make major life choices to accommodate their illness. According to LCD-10, ICD-10 guidelines, the main diagnostic criteria of social phobia are fear of being the focus of attention or fear of behaving in a way that will be embarrassing or humiliating, avoidance, and anxiety symptoms. Standardized rating scales can be used to screen for social anxiety disorder and measure the severity of anxiety. The first-line treatment for social anxiety disorder is cognitive behavioral therapy, with medications recommended only in those who are not interested in therapy. CBT is effective in treating social phobia, whether delivered individually or in a group setting. The cognitive and behavioral components seek to change thought patterns and physical reactions to anxiety-inducing situations. The attention given to social anxiety disorder has significantly increased since 1999, with the approval and marketing of drugs for its treatment. Prescribed medications include several classes of antidepressants, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors (SSRIs), serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors (SNRIs), and monoamine oxidase inhibitors (MAOIs). Other commonly used medications include beta blockers and benzodiazepines. It is the most common anxiety disorder, with up to 10% of people being affected at some point in their life. Signs and symptoms, cognitive aspects. In cognitive models of social anxiety disorder, those with social phobias experience dread over how they will be presented to others. They may feel overly self-conscious, pay high self-attention after the activity, or have high performance standards for themselves. According to the social psychology theory of self-presentation, a sufferer attempts to create a well-mannered impression towards others, but believes he or she is unable to do. Many times, prior to the potentially anxiety-provoking social situation, sufferers may deliberately review what could go wrong and how to deal with each unexpected case. After the event, they may have the perception that they performed unsatisfactorily. Consequently, they will perceive anything that may have possibly been abnormal as embarrassing. These thoughts may extend for weeks or longer. Cognitive distortions are a hallmark and are learned about in CBT, cognitive behavior theory. Thoughts are often self-defeating and inaccurate. Those with social phobia tend to interpret neutral or ambiguous conversations with a negative outlook, and many studies suggest that socially anxious individuals remember more negative memories than those less distressed. An example of an instance may be that of an employee presenting to their coworkers. During the presentation, the person may stutter a word, upon which he or she may worry that other people significantly noticed and think that their perceptions of him or her as a presenter have been tarnished. This cognitive thought propels further anxiety, which compounds with further stuttering, swearing, and potentially a panic attack. Behavioral aspects. Social anxiety disorder is a persistent fear of one or more situations in which the person is exposed to possible scrutiny by others and fears that he or she may do something or act in a way that will be humiliating or embarrassing. It exceeds normal shyness as it leads to excessive social avoidance and substantial social or occupational impairment. Feared activities may include almost any type of social interaction, especially small groups, dating, parties, talking to strangers, restaurants, interviews, etc. Those who suffer from social anxiety disorder fear being judged by others in society. In particular, individuals with social anxiety are nervous in the presence of people with authority and feel uncomfortable during physical examinations. People who suffer from this disorder may behave a certain way or say something and then feel embarrassed or humiliated after. As a result, they often choose to isolate themselves from society to avoid such situations. As a result, they often choose to isolate themselves from society to avoid such situations. As a result, they often choose to isolate themselves from society to avoid such situations. They may also feel uncomfortable meeting people they do not know and act distant when they are with large groups of people. In some cases, they may show evidence of the disorder by avoiding eye contact or blushing when someone is talking to them. According to psychologist B.F. Skinner, phobias are controlled by escape and avoidance behaviors. For instance, a student may leave the room when talking in front of the class, escape, and refrain from doing verbal presentations because of the previously encountered anxiety attack, avoid. Major avoidance behaviors could include an almost pathological, compulsive lying behavior in order to preserve self-image and avoid judgment in front of others. Minor avoidance behaviors are exposed when a person avoids eye contact and crosses his or her arms to avoid recognizable shaking. A fight or flight response is then triggered in such events. Physiological aspects. Physiological effects, similar to those in other anxiety disorders, are present in social phobics. In adults, it may be tears as well as excessive sweating, nausea, difficulty breathing, shaking, and palpitations as a result of the fight or flight response. The walk disturbance, where a person is so worried about how they walk that they may lose balance, may appear. I'm not laughing at. I'm laughing at myself. May appear, especially when I'm like trying to okay, may appear especially when passing a group of people. Blushing is commonly exhibited by individuals. This is not in the Wikipedia article. Junior year, that got really bad for me. Junior year, I went to boarding school, and junior year I was like, it got really bad. The walking, I was like, because I would have to walk from my dorm room to the cafeteria like all the time. We would always walk on, and you walk all the time. You walked all the time to class, and it was always like maybe a quarter of a mile, or they were like walks. They were substantial, like 10-minute walks, like 5 to 10 minute walks, um, and like the walking, like it got bad. I remember I told the counselor, I told him like I'm afraid of I think I'm becoming afraid of walking or something. Like when I'm like afraid of I forget how to like walk, and like when I'm passing people like on the way to the cafeteria, on the way to class, and like I start and he was like you like you forget how to walk. Okay, now I'm gonna start reading again. But he was the best. He was super cool. He taught me about cognitive behavioral therapy, which like really, and I think it really influenced my movies. Which I hope he doesn't blame himself for that if he ever sees them. But blushing is commonly exhibited by individuals suffering from social phobia. These visible symptoms further reinforce the anxiety in the presence of others. A 2006 study found that the area of the brain called the amygdala, part of the limbic system, is hyperactive when patients are shown threatening faces or confronted with frightening situations. They found that patients with more severe social phobia showed a correlation with the increased response in the amygdala. He told my mom that my mom told me the other day that he thought that I had social anxiety. Yeah. Comorbidity. SAD shows a high degree of co-occurrence with other psychiatric disorders. In fact, a population-based study found that 66% of those with SAD had one or more additional mental health disorders. He also taught me grounding. My mom taught me grounding, but she never did it in like a clinical way. Like this is called grounding, and she just said she taught me the toe, like feeling your body, like feeling your toes and then feeling your feet, and then he taught me looking around the room. She probably taught me that too, but like he told me like this is called a grounding exercise when you're in the cafeteria and you don't know what to do. Like when it's all school and you're in the cafeteria and you don't know what to do and you're scared, like just look around and like look at the items. And okay, I'm gonna read again. SAD often occurs along. He was really cool. Kent. We talked about movies. SAD often occurs alongside low self. I always tried to like talk about movies instead of like therapy stuff. Like, and I always try to talk about movies instead of my emotions. SAD often occurs alongside. I told him I was better, and he I think he knew like I was I was a lost, like not a lost cause, but like that I wasn't ready to help myself. Like I wasn't gonna let it happen. So I think he was like, okay, like you're better. Like there was nothing he could do. Like I wasn't gonna do anything. And so I told him I stopped seeing him. I should have kept seeing him. He told me you can I'm like you can come to my like he was like one of the nicest people I've ever met. I think. Okay, SAD often occurs alongside low self. That wasn't in the Wikipedia article, by the way. SAD often occurs alongside low self-esteem, and should I write that in the Wikipedia article about Kent about my um? No, I'll probably get banned from Wikipedia. Or they won't approve it or something. I don't think you can just put anything in a Wikipedia article anymore. Like one this big, there's probably people. Like it probably has to go through someone. SAD often occurs alongside low self-esteem and most commonly clinical depression, perhaps due to a lack of personal relationships and long periods of isolation related to social avoidance. Clinical depression is 1.49 to 3.5 times more likely to occur in those with SAD. Anxiety disorders are also very common in patients with SAD, in particular generalized anxiety disorder. Avoidant personality disorder is also highly correlated with SAD, with comorbidity rates ranging from 25 to 89%. To try to reduce their anxiety and alleviate depression, people with social phobia may use alcohol or other drugs, which can lead to substance abuse. It is estimated that 1/5 of patients with social anxiety disorder also suffer from alcohol dependence. However, some research suggests that SAD is unrelated to or even protective against alcohol-related problems. Those who suffer from both alcoholism and social anxiety disorder are more likely to avoid group-based treatments and to relapse, compared to people who do not have this combination. Differential diagnosis. The DSM-4 criteria stated that an individual cannot receive a diagnosis of social anxiety disorder if their symptoms are better accounted for by one of the autism spectrum disorders such as autism and Asperger's syndrome. Because of its close relationship and overlapping symptoms, treating people with social phobia may help to understand the underlying conditions to other mental disorders. Social anxiety is often linked to bipolar depression or bipolar disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. And some believe that they share an underlying cyclothymic anxious sensitive disposition. What does that mean? Also called a type of chronic mood disorder, widely considered to be more chronic, but milder or subthreshold form of bipolar disorder. The co-occurrence of ADHD and social phobia is very high, especially when SCT symptoms are present. What is SCT? Sluggish cognitive tempo. That's interesting. Causes. Research into the causes of social anxiety Research into the causes of social anxiety and social phobia is wide-ranging, encompassing multiple perspectives from neuroscience to sociology. Scientists have yet to pinpoint the exact causes. Studies suggest that genetics can play a part in combination with environmental factors. Social phobia is not caused by other mental disorders or by substance abuse. Generally, social anxiety begins at a specific point in an individual's life. This will develop over time as the person struggles to recover. Eventually, mild social awkwardness can develop into symptoms of social anxiety or phobia. Genetics. It has been shown that there is a 2- or 3-fold greater risk of having social phobia if a first-degree relative also has the disorder. This could be due to genetics and/or due to children acquiring social fears and avoidance through processes of observational learning or parental psychosocial education. Studies of identical twins brought up via adoption in different families have indicated that if one twin developed social anxiety disorder, then the other was between 30% and 50% more likely than average to also develop the disorder. To some extent, the heritability may not be specific. For example, studies have found that if a parent has any kind of anxiety disorder or clinical depression, then a child is somewhat more likely to develop an anxiety disorder or social phobia. Studies suggest that parents of those with social anxiety disorder tend to be more socially isolated themselves. Bruck and Heimberg, 1994, Castor et al. Is that how you say ET space AL et al? I don't know. I don't even know what that means. 1999. And shyness in adoptive parents is significantly correlated with shyness in adopted children. Daniels and Foman, 1985. That's interesting. Wikipedia doesn't say that's interesting. That was me. Growing up with overprotective and hypercritical parents has also been associated with social anxiety disorder. Adolescents were rated as having an insecure, anxious, ambivalent attachment with their mother as infants were twice as likely to develop anxiety disorders by late adolescence, including social phobia. A related line of research has investigated behavioral inhibition in infants, early signs of an inhibited and introspective or fearful nature. Studies have shown that around 10 to 15% of individuals show this early temperament, which appears to be partly due to genetics. Some continue to show this trait into adolescence and adulthood and appear to be more likely to develop social anxiety disorder. Social experiences. A previous negative social experience can be a trigger to social phobia, perhaps particularly for individuals high in interpersonal sensitivity. For around half of those diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, a specific traumatic or humiliating social event appears to be associated with the onset or worsening of the disorder. This kind of event appears to be particularly related to specific performance social phobia, for example, regarding public speaking. Stenberg et al. 1995, as well as direct experiences, observing or hearing about the socially negative experiences of others, e.g., a faux pas committed by someone, or verbal warnings of social problems and danger, may also make the development of a social anxiety disorder more likely. Social anxiety disorder may be caused by the longer-term effects of not fitting in or being bullied, rejected, or ignored. Beidel and Turner, 1998. Shy adolescents or avoidant adults have emphasized unpleasant experiences with peers or childhood bullying or harassment. Jill Martin, 1987. In one study, popularity was found to be negatively correlated with social anxiety. And children who were neglected by their peers reported higher social anxiety and fear of negative evaluation than other categories of children. Socially phobic children appear less likely to receive positive reactions from peers, and anxious or inhibited children may isolate themselves. Cultural influences. Cultural factors that have been related to social anxiety disorder include a society's attitude towards shyness and avoidance, affecting the ability to form relationships or access employment or education, and shame. One study found that the effects of parenting are different depending on the culture. American children appear more likely to develop social anxiety disorder if their parents emphasize the importance of others' opinions and use shame as a disciplinary strategy. Lang et al. 1994. Sorry for smiling just now. But this association was not found for Chinese American children. In China, research has indicated that shy, inhibited children are more accepted than their peers and more likely to be considered for leadership and considered competent, in contrast to the findings in Western countries. Purely demographic variables may also play a role. Problems in developing social. There was this time when uh, in elementary school, I was playing soccer, and my dad, like, I was in. I didn't make it in. So I didn't make it into the. It was like fifth grade or fourth grade. I didn't make it into the A team, for the club, the the A team. Um, and all the people I had played with since like the start, since I had started playing soccer, they did get into the A team, and so they were like the same. And I got into the B team, and it was about like me being inhibited or like not being like aggressive enough on the field, um, passing a lot and like not taking shots or like not being like an aggressive player, like being a shy player. And they put me on the B team, and they wanted me to like they had this plan for me or something that I would be on the B team and like that I would be the leader of the B team or something. Um, and on the first day of practice, like I just wanted to be on the team or whatever. Um, and like I wanted to play with my friends. Like like I was really sad that I wasn't playing with my friends, but like I wanted. Like I wasn't trying to lead the B team or any, and like I think the coaches were like trying to get me to lead the B team or something. And on the way home, my dad like he yelled at me really hard, like the whole time, and I was crying the whole time. And he yelled at me about how I had to be like a leader for like I didn't want to be, like I didn't want to. I didn't want to be. That's not what I wanted to be. Like he said, like they had this like plan for how I was gonna be, but I didn't want to be that. Like I didn't. Then I think he apologized the same day, but like I just didn't like that. Definitely, I don't want to like guilt my dad. Like I guess that's what I'm doing. I don't think my dad's watching this video, but that was like I think about that. That I think about things like too much. Like that's probably something I should let go, like forgive him for. But I don't know if I have. Like that's still something that I kind of like. I think about that sometimes. Like more like I didn't think about it for long, but then I when I kind of remembered it, at some point in my teens or whatever. That's not in the Wiki. I think I already said that's not in the Wikipedia article. Problems in developing social skills or social fluency may be a cause of some social anxiety disorder through either inability or lack of confidence to interact socially and gain positive reactions and acceptance from others. The studies have been mixed, however, with some studies not finding significant problems in social skills, while others have. What does seem clear is that the socially anxious perceive their own social skills to be low. It may be that the increasing need for sophisticated social skills in forming relationships or careers and an emphasis on assertiveness and competitiveness is making social anxiety problems more common, or at least among the middle classes. An interpersonal or media emphasis on normal or attractive personal characteristics has also been argued to fuel perfectionism and feelings of inferiority or insecurity regarding negative evaluation from others. The need for social acceptance or social standing has been elaborated in other lines of research relating to social anxiety. Also in boarding school, I went to like an art school. I'm gonna talk about that again. In boarding school, they like you would get greenlit. I was like an art school. You'd get, and I was there for movies. You could get greenlit or something from a script, and like I didn't like the way they made movies. Like I didn't like the way they made movies at the greenlit. You got funding from the school or whatever. I really didn't like it. It was a process that to me was like really destructive, like bad, like bad, like not like it was a process to me that seemed not creative. Like there were a lot of rules involved, and it wasn't really about art. Like it was they literally said like it was clear that it wasn't about art. They weren't hiding that. But like my dad would be like he. I mean, I understand because he was paying for it. He paid $30,000 a year for it. Um, but like senior year, like I made like a feature, like me, mostly me, like junior and senior year. I worked on it, and like my dad like wasn't didn't what in him and what like he would like yell at me like why don't you want to get greenlit or like why like this is an opportunity. I was like I don't it's not like he was like this is an opportunity and like it didn't seem like an opportunity for me. It seemed like something that was not an opportunity for me. But also I was pretty like so someone asked me to edit. I was so mean. Someone asked me to edit their movie, and like I said yes. I didn't want to, but I said yes anyway. And like I like didn't like the movie, and I didn't put enough effort into it. Like I didn't want to edit it. There was nothing against them. Like it was fine. It was funny. Because all the because everything it went through all this stuff like it because we were taught this way that like the half of like the creative thinking behind the movie it was learned stuff. It wasn't actual stuff that they want. Like it was stuff that they were doing to like you got greenlit by uh, doing, like, if you wrote a screenplay and then you took the notes that the person who greenlit you gave you, then you'd get greenlit. Like, you didn't get greenlit for like you got greenlit for being like for sucking up. Uh, like, technically, this is all sounding really bitter. But I think my dad just felt like he was wasting his money because like I could have gotten greenlit and I didn't, and I had no interest in it because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it the way I wanted to do it. But back to the editing thing. Substance abuse.